Starting on the front end, the steering linkage with two big disadvantages. One, I don't have an engine lathe or a milling machine or anything like that, so it's hard to really get parts to fit properly, especially moving parts. Can't really turn down shafts to fit a proper bronze bushing, so we'll have to make do with what I have on hand. And two, steering is pretty doggone complicated. There's caster and camber and toe in and toe out and bump steer and just a million little details, and I don't really know what I'm doing, but it's never stopped me before, so let's proceed onward through the fog. Okay, little progress on the front end. You got to get started. That's the hard part. I'm going to use the axles from the riding mower. They're 5/8 inch. This will be the kingpin, I guess it's called. It's 3/4 inch pipe, and inside it will be a 5/8 rod. So I'll have to drill this. I'll have to add a piece of steel coming out here and drill that. This will be the front axle. This will hold the top of the kingpin, kind of curvy, kind of fancy. I'll probably have to put some sort of gusset here to strengthen that up. And I want it on leaf springs, so I have these springs. It's spring steel. I have to scratch my head and figure that out, but I'm going to let this sit here for a day or so and look at it and make sure it's what I want to do. And also I have some 5/8 bearings ordered. I want to make sure the bearings fit the shaft before I do any welding. So pretty pleased with this so far. Okay, I got front end parts. Lots of them cut out and ready to clean them up and weld them. So this piece and this piece will be the pivots for the spindle. So I'll have to drill a big hole here and here. Well, 5/8 for the shaft. I got a little brace. I don't know if you can see it. That'll go halfway up this little curved piece to strengthen it. And this is the spring. I think this is spring steel. So the car body will be attached here. So when you have an impact, this spring will compress a little bit, and that when it does that, it'll have to swing out. So these are the two little swing arms. So this pipe will be welded to the spring. This pipe will be welded to this little bent piece. And this is the pivot. So I'll have 4 of these. And lots of cleanup and welding to do. And I think I'll weld this one last, because that way I can adjust the tilt of the pin, and I can also make it go forward or backward a little bit to get the right angle. I'm not sure what those are. I've been reading, but it's pretty confusing. Okay, with the help of a couple of round bars stuck in the holes, I got the front straight, at least straight, eyeball straight, and I've just got a few tacks holding it together. There's so many variables right now. I don't want to overweld anything. Okay, after lots of fritzing and measuring and setting up, I got the spring welded in, and it is free to bounce, but it also can move a little bit side to side. And I don't know if that's an issue or not. Of course, this will be fixed rigid to the bottom of the frame, but that still allows the axle to move around. So I don't know, might help at corner, it might be a problem. I'm not smart enough to figure that out. So the next piece of work will be the spindles and the axle, but until I get my bearings in the mail to make sure the axle is going to work correctly, I don't want to weld anything on that. Here we're using some engine head bolts. They're really nice grade 8, and they're the wrong length, and I'm too cheap to go buy some other ones, so I'm just welding the tops. I'm going to cut them off, and they're going to work just fine, just like they are. Alright, here, so on my homemade front suspension, I think I have an issue. If one side goes down all the way, then the other side can come up, and you end up with this, which I don't know anything about front ends, but I know that's not right. So if I can keep it from going down, it can't do that. So I got this little spring. First I started out with a valve spring, and it's too stiff. So then I found this spring, and if I put one right there, and put the other one right here, That will not only give the front a little more suspension, but it'll keep it from doing that flippy thing. So I'm going to tack them in place. Everything I'm doing is adjustable, fully adjustable, because I have a grinder. So we're playing. See how it works. So I just cut this bottom plate loose again, and I shifted it to the front, because from what I understand, this pivot point to make a car drive straight down the road without fighting, not only does it need to lean in, which is I had it leaning in, it also needs to lean forward a little bit. I don't know how much. I'm moving it about 2.5 degrees forward, so that if you project this line down to the ground and you put the axle on here and you project the axle vertically, there'll be a space, and the wheel will be behind. Where the wheel touches the concrete will be behind where this theoretical line would touch the concrete, and that makes it like a caster. It wants to go straight. If you let go of the wheel while you're driving, it'll want to go straight. Theoretically, that's the plan. Again, I'm just tacking everything together. I'm gonna put enough tack on it where I can sit on this thing and drive it up and down the road and make whatever adjustments I need be. And when I think it's good, I'm gonna weld real good and then buff it up and put some paint on it. I'm cutting the ends off of these turnbuckle, or this turnbuckle. This is cast steel. This is military spec, not pot metal. It's good stuff. And I'm welding the nut part to the bottom of where the kingpin or the pivot goes, and I'm doing this because it's the same 5/8 shaft that I'm going to use, and if I put the nut and cut the threads off it in the right length, I can screw this pin in there and it gets tight right when it hits the nut. So that'll be one less rattle this front end will have. I can screw these pins in and they get tight, and they're basically fixed items then. So this is going to work good for us. I just have to remember in the future that one's left hand and one's right hand, so I don't kill myself trying to unscrew a left-handed pin. Yeah, I got the bottom part of the front end level and clamped to the table, and I've got the axle level, well, as level as that 4x4 is, and I'm fixing to weld them on there. Okay, let's call the front end done. Nothing's welded 100%. I will weld the axles. But the wheels are rolling good, and the steering is good. I'm going to drill and put a grease zerk here, and on the other one, I still have the issue of the spring being able to do this, which I'm not too crazy about. I'm not sure if it's going to do that with the weight of the car on it, but I guess it could if you went over a big bounce. So not sure what I'm going to do with that. I might just put a spring right here to hold it down, or to hold up the weight of the axle in case the front end becomes airborne. And that's about it. If this spring turns out not to be strong enough, I can double it. I have another one. And that's it. I'm still not going to weld 100% until I drive the cart around, because I may want to change the camber and caster angles. But I will weld the axle 100% because it's not moving. And that'll be good. I'm not doing the steering linkage until I do the car body, because I don't know where to put it where it won't be a problem later on.